ಸಲ್ಲಿಸಿರುವಂತೆ ಗೌರವಪೂರ್ವಕವಾಗಿ ಹಾಜರುಪಡಿಸುತ್ತಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ಇವರು ಅನುಕ್ರಮವಾಗಿ ಕೃಷಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬ್ಯಾಚುಲರ್ ಪದವಿ, ತೋಟಗಾರಿಕೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬ್ಯಾಚುಲರ್ ಪದವಿ, ಕೃಷಿ ಮಾರುಕಟ್ಟೆ ಮತ್ತು ಸಹಕಾರದಲ್ಲಿ ಬ್ಯಾಚುಲರ್ ಪದವಿ, ರೇಷ್ಮೆ ಕೃಷಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬ್ಯಾಚುಲರ್ ಪದವಿ ಮತ್ತು ಅರಣ್ಯಶಾಸ್ತ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಬ್ಯಾಚುಲರ್ ಪದವಿಗಳನ್ನು ಪಡೆಯಲು ಪ್ರದಾನ ಮಾಡಬೇಕೆಂದು ಪ್ರಾರ್ಥಿಸುತ್ತೇನೆ. ಕೃಷಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಲ್ಲುವುದು.
Sir, I have the honor to present to you the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Veterinary Science, the degree of Bachelor of Fisheries Science, and the degree of Bachelor of Science Dairy Technology, whose names are set out in the list. They have been examined and found qualified for the degree of Bachelor of Veterinary Science, the degree of Bachelor of Fisheries Science, and the degree of Bachelor of Science Dairy Technology, respectively, to which I pray they may be admitted. Candidates taking the degree of Bachelor of Veterinary Science, the degree of Bachelor of Fisheries Science, and the degree of Bachelor of Science Dairy Technology in person will please stand forward.
By virtue of the authority vested in me as the Chancellor of the University of Agricultural Sciences, Bangalore, I admit the degree of Bachelor of Science, Horticulture, the degree of Bachelor of Science, Agricultural Marketing and Dairy Technology, respectively, to this university.
ಆಯಾ ಅಧ್ಯಯನ ಕ್ಷೇತ್ರಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರ ಅತ್ಯುನ್ನತ ಸಾಧನೆಗಳಿಗಾಗಿ ಚಿನ್ನದ ಪದಕ ಪ್ರಶಸ್ತಿ ಹಾಗೂ ಬಹುಮಾನಗಳನ್ನು ಪಡೆಯಲು ಎಚ್.ಎಸ್. ಶಿವರಾಮ, recipient of UASB Gold Medal for outstanding. G.G. Basavaraja, recipient of UASB Gold Medal. Shailaja, yes, recipient of recipient of UASB Gold Medal for outstanding performance. H.S. Gopal Gowda, recipient of UASB Gold Medal for outstanding performance in PhD degree in Shyama, yes, recipient of medal for outstanding performance in PhD degree in fish oceanography. Fish processing technology. Graduates in agronomy. Pramod Tetri, recipient of the following 3 gold medals and prizes. UASB Gold Medal for General Merit from among MSc graduates in Agriculture Entomology. Dr. V.P. Rao Memorial Prize for General Merit from among the MSc Agriculture. Raj Sulochana Nilan, recipient of UASB Gold Medal for outstanding performance in MSc Agri Plant Pathology. Radha M.R., recipient of UASB Gold Medal for outstanding performance in MSc, recipient of UASB in Soil Science, and Dr. N.G. Broad, Silver Jubilee Gold Medal for outstanding merit from among the MSc Agri graduates in Soil Science. Recipient of UASB Gold, recipient of the following 3 gold medals and prizes. UASB Gold Medal for General Merit in MSc Agriculture Microbiology from among MSc Agriculture Microbiology graduate students from among Agriculture Microbiology students. Rupa G. Mata, recipient of the following 3 gold medals and prizes. UASB Gold Medal for General for the best student from among MSc Agriculture Microbiology students, shares with other 2. Dr. G. Rangaswamy Gold Medal for the best student from among Agriculture Microbiology MSc students, shares with other 2. Rupa Vashish, recipient of UASB Gold Medal for outstanding performance in MSc Horticulture degree in floriculture. Rupa Sri N, recipient of UASB Gold Medal for outstanding performance in MSc Horticulture degree in floriculture. Nandrushna H.M., recipient of the following 3 gold medals and prizes. UASB Gold Medal for General Merit in MUSC Poultry Science from among MUSC graduates. H. Sanjeevappa Naik received gold medal for the best student in MUSC graduates in Poultry Science. Venkateshwara has received gold medal for the best student from among MUSC Poultry Science students. Mr. S.R. Mohan Kumar, recipient of UASB Gold Medal for General Merit from among MSc Dairy Science in Dairy Technology. Sidhu Agri, graduates in Soil and Water Conservation Engineering. Tapas Kumar Kundu, recipient of Sri Nijlingappa's 77th birthday commemoration gold medal for the best student from among N.R. Jayagopal Reddy, recipient of Srimati S.K. Soumya Rana, gold medal for the best student from among MSc graduates in veterinary medicine. Vijaya B, recipient of Dr. K.T. Nayak Group, memorial gold medal for the best student from among MSc horticulture graduates in pomology. M.J. Fadi, recipient of Dr. Leela Patnis Memorial Gold Medal for the best student from among MSc Food Science, Post India Limited for the best SC/ST student from among postgraduates. Prize for the best MSc student with thesis problem in applied and adaptive research on post-harvest management of horticulture crops. Vivek D.S. Gold medal graduates of this university. Dr. B.K. Gardachar Centenary Commemoration Prize for General Merit from among BSc Agri graduates. Sri R. Gundura Gold Medal from among Marks in Agriculture Botany from among BSc Agri graduates. Mohan Hegde Memorial Endowment Gold Medal for highest AGP in Basic Science and Humanities from among the graduates. Bellur Timmappa and Timmamma Gold Medal for General Merit from among BSc Agri graduates. UAS Employees Association Gold Medal for the best student in Humanities from among the graduates. Recipient of UASB Gold Medal for having secured second rank from among BSc Agri graduates, and Nadasar Boma Rajkumar Salman from the Gold Medal for the best student in agriculture extension from among the graduates. First rank from among BSc Horticulture graduates, and Indo-American ITC Gold Medal for General Merit from among BSc Horticulture graduates. Arun H.G., recipient of UASB Gold Medal for having secured second rank from among BSc Horticulture graduates. Suryanarayan Patnaik, recipient of UASB Gold Medal for having secured first rank from among BSc Agriculture graduates. Second rank from among BSc Agriculture graduates. Dalai Ram, recipient of UASB Gold Medal for having secured first rank from among BSc Agriculture Marketing and Cooperation graduates, and Dr. A. Krishnamurti Gold Medal for the best student from among BSc Agriculture Marketing and Cooperation graduates. Nityashree D.A., recipient of UASB Gold Medal for having secured second rank from among BSc Agriculture. Srinivas Rao, recipient of UASB Gold Medal for having secured first rank from among BSc Forestry graduates. J. Giridhar B5, recipient of UASB Gold Medal for having secured second rank from among BSc Forestry graduates. Satish Chandra B.C., recipient of UASB Gold Medal for having secured second rank from among recipient of the following gold Nadasar Boma Rajkumar Salman Gold Medal for having secured the highest CGPA in veterinary medicine from among the graduates. Dr. Syed Mohideen Memorial Gold Medal for highest CGPA in veterinary. Vasudev Mudaliar Veterinary College Silver Jubilee Gold Medal for the highest CGPA in veterinary. Sudarsana K.J., recipient of UASB Gold Medal for having secured second rank from among BSc graduates. R. Vasudevan, recipient of UASB Gold Medal for having secured first rank from among BSc, therefore second rank from among BSc Dairy Technology graduates. Ravi Kiran Kansalpalli, recipient of UASB Gold Medal for having secured first rank from among BFSC graduates, and Mr. R.N. Ramchandra Memorial Gold Medal for General Merit from among BFSC graduates. The following awardees are taking their degree in absentia. Radha T., recipient of UASB Gold Medal for outstanding performance in her.
Mr. Chancellor, Sir, please permit me to present Dr. Jerry Venkatram for the award, research award. Sir, here is the citation of Dr. J.V. Venkatram. Dr. J.V. Venkatram, head of the Division of Agricultural Economics and Registrar of the University of Agricultural Sciences, Bangalore, was born on August 1, 1938 and hails from a farmer's family in Jarabandavati village in Gauribidur Taluk of Kolar district. Dr. Venkatram obtained his BSc Agri degree in 1961 from the University of Illinois, USA, where he had pursued his studies as a Fellow of the Agricultural Development Council, New York. Sir, Dr. Venkatram has specialized in the areas of agricultural economics and quantitative methods. He commenced his career as an agricultural extension officer in the Karnataka. Sometime he worked as a research fellow in then Professor of Agricultural Economics, the Indian Society for Studies in Cooperation, and the Indian Society for Agricultural Marketing. Dr. Venkatram served as the director of Karnataka State Warehousing Corporation from 1979 to 1982. He is a recognized visiting postgraduate teacher at the Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore. Dr. Venkatram has published 74 research papers in Indian and international journals, besides bringing out 5 reports on studies in agricultural economics. He conducted the All India Summer Institute in Agricultural Financial Management in May-June 1990, which has considered as unique and pioneering in view of the growing importance of the subject for teaching, research, and policy making. Sir, through the micro-level forum plans developed by incorporating credit use, debt management, cropping pattern, and crop insurance, which resulted in a substantial increase in the net income of the farmers, Dr. Venkatram has contributed uniquely to the enhancement of the economic well-being of the farmers in Karnataka. Therefore, Your Excellency, in appreciation of Dr. Venkatram's work as an adaptive research aimed at enhancing the economic well-being of the farmers amidst uncertainties of weather, thereby leading to the rural socio-economic development in the different agroclimatic regions in Karnataka, the University of Agricultural Sciences, Bangalore, is pleased to confer on Dr. J.V. Venkatram the Nagamma Dattatreya Rao Desai Award for the year 1990. Kamarat Vidhuran Devraj, that is Dr. K.V. Devraj, Chief Scientific Officer, Inland Fisheries and Director of Research, University of Agricultural Sciences, Bangalore, was born at Chikballapur on January 29, 1937. Dr. Devraj obtained his BSc Honours in 1959 and MSc Zoology in 1961 from the University of Mysore. Later on, he obtained DFSC in 1967 from the Central Institute of Fisheries Education, Bombay. Further, he secured PhD in 1970, specializing in fisheries management from Auburn University, Alabama, United States of America. Sir, Dr. Devraj started his career as a research assistant in fisheries in the development of fisheries in 1962. In 1967, he joined the University of Agricultural Sciences, Bangalore, and worked as Assistant Professor of Fish Culture and Breeding at the College of Fisheries, Mangalore, and later as Fisheries Officer before assuming the position of Chief Scientific Officer, Inland Fisheries, Bangalore, in the year 1977. Since January 1990, he is also holding the additional charge in the post of Director of Research in the University. Dr. Devraj has played a very significant role by starting the first fisheries college in the country at Mangalore. He was actively involved in the preparation of syllabi for the undergraduate and postgraduate degree programs in fisheries sciences. He was also responsible for the establishment of Inland Fisheries Division in the university, with centers at Hesraghatta, Hebbard, and several other research stations. In 1970, Dr. Devraj was the first person in the country to be awarded the fellowship of the International Academy of Fisheries Scientists, Italy. He was also recognized as the fisheries scientist of the American Fisheries Society of United States of America. In 1988, he was selected as Honorary Advisor, Research Board of Directors, American Biographical Institute, USA. He is the recipient of the International Award of American Biographical Institute for Distinguished Leadership in Fisheries in 1989. Recently, the United States Department of Agriculture has awarded a certificate of appreciation to him for successful completion of one of the PL480 projects in inland fisheries. Since 1967, Dr. Devraj has visited several countries like the United States of America, the United Kingdom, Italy, France, Germany. He was invited as visiting professor in 1982 by the International Center for Aquaculture, Auburn University, USA, and the Institute of Aquaculture, University of Stirling, United Kingdom, under the British Council Exchange Program. Dr. and more than 150 scientific papers. He has served as Director of Scientific Contributions of Dr. Devraj are breeding freshwater catfish for the first time in the country. Breeding Indian major carps in confined waters by applying the same technology paved the way for increased production of carps through in formulation of nutritionally balanced, low-cost fish seeds. Rearing carp fried to fingerlings in paddy fields, breeding fringe-lipped carp, culture of herbivorous fishes, working in nutritional requirements of catalogue, integrated fish farming, fish pond management, reservoir fisheries, etc. are his additional achievements. His research contributions country. Therefore, Your Excellency, in recognition of his outstanding contributions in the field of inland fisheries research and development, leading towards enhancing fish production and economic betterment of the farming community, the University of Agricultural Sciences of Bangalore is pleased to confer the Natasara Boma Rajkumar Sarma Samiti Award for the year 1990-91 on Dr. Kamarat Viduran Devraj.
Mr. Chancellor, Mr. Pro-Chancellor, Mr. Vice-Chancellor, distinguished guests, graduates of the year, ladies and gentlemen. I deem it a great honor for having been invited to be the chief guest and address the graduates of the year at the 25th Convocation of the University of Agricultural Sciences, Bangalore. This young university, having an enviable record of scholastic has already made a significant impact by carrying the fruits of its research to the doorsteps of the agricultural community. Even though I am a space scientist, the fact that space technology can and is providing vital inputs of direct relevance to agricultural management gives me credibility to address you today. Let me first congratulate all the successful graduates of the year and hope that armed with this great cause, you will be able to face all the challenging tasks ahead of you with courage and determination. It is on scientists like you the future of the country depends for the development of its most vital sector of the economy. One of the most significant developments in the post-independence era is the initiation of agricultural green revolution in the country. It was a staggering growth in population from 350 million to 850 million since independence. While part of this increase is due to large-scale irrigation of over 45 million hectares of land, the post-green revolution productivity of 3% a year, double of that during the pre-green revolution, has been responsible for this dramatic change, the credit for which goes to all the agricultural scientists in the country. High-yielding wheat varieties in Punjab and Haryana, for example, today, produce 55 million tons of wheat from just 23 million hectares of land, almost a threefold increase compared to the pre-green revolution. And the introduction of genetic breeding when viewed in the context of our own historical perspective and those of other developing societies in the world. While developments in agricultural technology was historically responsible for the appearance and rapid growth of ancient civilizations along the major river valleys, the Tigris and the Euphrates, the Yangtze and the Nile, the Ganges and the Indus, blessed with rich alluvial soil and plentiful sunshine, build-up of population in these regions, and overexploitation of valuable land and water resources. The inability of religious and cultural heritage, which was once the hallmark of these civilizations, to keep pace with the scientific and technological achievement, led to the creation of stagnating, underdeveloped societies in these areas. Over 5 billion people living in the developing world of today, constituting 70% of world population, consume less than 20% of the food and only 5% of the world's mineral resources. Unchecked population growth has shrunk the available agricultural land in developing countries to just about 0.2 hectares per capita, less than half of that in developed countries. Extreme pressure on land has led to large-scale depletion of forests, particularly the tropical forests, having a very rich biodiversity, to less than half in the last 5 decades. In India alone, as dramatically revealed by space imageries, the closed forest in the country has been reduced to less than 11% of its total area from 14% just a decade ago. While 1 out of every 2 persons has access to a telephone in the developed society, even in metropolitan cities in India, the available communication facility is less than 1 for every 100. The picture in the rural areas is even more dismal, with over 2,000 persons having to compete for access to a single telephone. In spite of the large increase in the number of universities and colleges, over 30% of our population will continue to remain illiterate even by the year 2000 unless we tackle the problem of illiteracy on a war footing. It is shocking to note that almost 6 million children, over 40% of the global infantile mortality rate, die every year. Sometimes this number continue to suffer from malnutrition and the future requirements in the coming decades. At the present growth rate, the population in India is expected to reach 1 billion by the turn of this century, demanding over 225 million tons of food grain production, which calls for a 6% annual growth rate as against 3% rate achieved even during the best Green Revolution period. The limited land of about 0.17 hectares per capita available for agricultural production is already getting degraded because of non-optimal agricultural land. 100 million hectares of rain-fed area contribute just about 40% of the total food production, which itself is subject to the vagaries of monsoon. Space imageries have clearly shown the extent of salinity in large parts of the country, particularly along the irrigated areas of the Indo-Gangetic plain, resulting from soil mismanagement, indiscriminate use of fertilizers, and inadequate drainage mechanism. As a result, UP and Bihar, for example, which contain about 50% of total sugar from Maharashtra, with a productivity of 90 tons per hectare. In the estimate of Mr. Lester Brown, the world is losing 14 million tons of food grain every year because of the land degradation, the bulk of which is in the developing countries like India. Mismanagement of water resources in India, a country which receives bountiful amount of annual rain of about 130 centimeters a year, has assumed such alarming proportion that underground water table in many areas of the country is depleting at a rate faster than 10 meters per year because of lack of any viable recharging mechanism. In spite of the Green Revolution, the crop yield in India and 4.3 tons per hectare achieved in Europe. While it's not my intention to go on quoting stats and reference a new era of hope and abundance, alternate energy sources such as solar, nuclear, wind and tidal are able to be tapped. The great advances taking place in biotechnology and genetic engineering, including cell and tissue culture and embryo implantation, are now able to provide better seeds, drought resistant, high yielding strains, and more productive cattle. Newer methods involving crop rotation, drip irrigation, better use of fertilizers, and adoption of right agricultural practices are becoming available for optimal exploitation of land and water resources. 45 million hectares to at least 80 to 90 million hectares, which is most effectively is undoubtedly one of the most significant developments of this century, which has already demonstrated its proven ability to provide vital inputs to the management of our natural. Predicting the acreage and yield of major crops in the country, which is essential for planning, production, and distribution strategies for our agricultural output. Space technology is now operationally used for agroclimatic reasoning of the country to monitor soil characteristics, geomorphological features, flood disaster, and for providing advance warning or management of drought at district and taluk level. Space technology has become a very valuable tool for identifying the location of underground aquifer potential. With the result, the success rate of obtaining drinking water through bore wells has dramatically increased to 90%, as against 45% obtained by conventional means. Space imageries have helped in identifying the extent and location of different types of waste wells at village level, half of which, accounting to almost 10% of total land area of the country, about 25 million hectares, can be reclaimed by our agricultural sciences for productive. It has taken a quantum jump with the availability of weather pictures. Combined with a disaster warning system, space technology has become an important tool in mitigating flood and cyclone disasters, saving thousands of lives and livestock. Most importantly, by combining conventional information on demographic and culture-specific needs and meteorological information with all the available vital inputs from space, such as surface and groundwater potential, agroclimatic conditions, type and extent of wasteland, soil characteristics, vegetation and crop growth, forest denudation, geomorphological features, it is now possible to plan for integrated development at micro level to ensure all-round development of vast rural areas. With the launching of IRS-1B in June 1991, followed by remote sensing capabilities, the continued availability of space inputs is ensured to our agricultural scientists on an assured basis, enabling them to usher a second green revolution. The greatest crisis that humankind will face in the coming decades, which threatens the very survival of human and biotic species on this planet, is the continuous global warming, food production, significant sea level rise, resulting in inundation of coastal areas and recurrent floods and drought disasters. Large-scale emission of greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide, CO2 particularly in the developed countries, and intensive food production with ecologically sound technologies involving knowledge-intensive agricultural practices to preserve the integrity of our green habitat for the coming generations. Availability of technological solutions and new tools alone is not sufficient to create a better future for the coming generations unless it is backed up by political will and social commitment. Social commitment can come only when the society as a whole is able to imbibe the scientific temper and is able to accept and appreciate new ideas and practices. The universities, which should be the words of Benjamin Disraeli, a place of life, of liberty and of learning, are expected to equip the youth of the future with the necessary intellectual capability. Unless the universities are able to imbibe a holistic, interdisciplinary approach, shedding the presently existing rigid compartmentalization of science curricula, the young graduates and scientists knowledge. True education is not a mere injection of second-hand capsule knowledge and its faithful reproduction in the archaic examination system with the sole purpose of obtaining a degree. It is what enables the youth to think rationally, reason logically, and not to be afraid of accepting new ideas. It's aimed at developing the mind and body to enable them to strive for excellence. In the words of John Ruskin, quote, education does not mean teaching people what they do not know. It means teaching them to behave as they do not behave. It is not teaching the youth the shapes of letters and the tricks of the numbers and leaving them to turn their arithmetic to roguery and their literature to lust. It means, on the contrary, training them into the perfect exercise and kingly continence of their bodies and souls. It is a painful, continual, and difficult work to be done by kindness, by watching, by warning, by precept, and by praise, but above all, by example. Unquote. Technological input alone cannot transform an agrarian rural society and enable it to actively participate in the development unless it is massively educated. It is only when the farmer, who is the end user, begins to appreciate the practical utility of the modern tools, sustainable development will become a reality. It is in this context, concepts such as dedicated gram-sat satellites, specifically tailored to eradicate illiteracy and meet the basic requirements of rural areas, to disseminate culture-specific knowledge on health, hygiene, environment, family planning, and better agricultural practices in regional languages, assumes great importance for transforming the rural society, which is the soul of this nation. My young friends, I am convinced that with your education and the availability of vast area of scientific and technological tools, you can face the future challenges with strength and confidence. I firmly believe that the devastation caused by the great Ethiopian famine a few years ago and the subjection of vast population all over the world to inhuman misery caused by recurrent droughts and floods could certainly be mitigated with the application of science and technology. While natural calamities will continue to occur, building up resistance to such frequent natural calamities and saving thousands of lives and livestock is within our technological reach. Dr. Norman Borlaug, in his Nobel address stated, quote, "Man can and must prevent the tragedy of human wreckage of the famine. We will be guilty of criminal negligence without extenuation if we permit future famines. Humanity cannot tolerate this guilt," unquote. Every generation considers it fashionable to blame the previous generation for its inherited ills and claims as its prerogative to point out, complain or philosophize, but boldly accept the onerous responsibility of facilitating smooth transition of our country to the next century through dedication, creativity and collective humanism. I am fully convinced that when instead of being hostess of old order, you assume the role of harbingers of new order, you will have your rendeavour with destiny. I once again congratulate you on your successful completion of your academic studies, which is only the beginning. I am confident that if you recognize education is a continuing process and apply the available as well as emerging scientific and technological innovations in a holistic way, you will be able to tackle the greatest problem of this country, that of chronic hunger. I wish all of you great success in making Isaiah's prophecies come true. The desert shall rejoice and blossom as the rose. The parched ground shall become a pool, and the thirsty land springs of water. Thank you.
I dissolve the convocation.
Adapting ಗಿರಿರಾಜನ ಇದು ಇಂಡಕ್ಟರ್ ಅಷ್ಟು ಅಡ್ವರ್ಟೈಸ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಇವತ್ತು ಗಿರಿರಾಜ ಚಿತ್ರ ಕೊಡ್ಸ್ಬೇಕಾಗಿ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಗಿರಿರಾಜ್ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಸರ್ ರಾಮಪ್ಪ ಹೇಳಿ ರಾಮಪ್ಪ ಗಿರಿರಾಜ ಹೆಂಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ
It's become very much popular now.
No, compared to the
See, it is Desi, it is just a replica of Desi, but more productive, more resistant to disease and adaptable to agroclimatic conditions. That's why it is a poor man's bird, it's not for rich man. So,
no, but even those the white
Leghorn, they're all
their productivity was quite good.
they are all productive, they are all hybrids. See, we are thinking of a common man's requirement without any high technology, no technology. Let me put it this way. ಆ ಬಡ ರೈತರಿಗೆ ಊಟ ಮಾಡೋ ಒಂದು ಊಟ ಇರಲ್ಲ, ಇದಿಂಥ ಮನೆ ಕಟ್ಟಿ ಇಂಥ ಆಹಾರ ಕಡೆ ಇಂಥ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಬೇಸಿಕ್ ಕೋಳಿ ಎಲ್ಲಿದೆಯೋ ನಮಗೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗೋದು ಅಂತ ರೆಸಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್